what is going on beyond oil and its derivative sectors in Saudi? What are the opportunities beyond what most people already know?
Personally, I think tourism, just from my own experience with my family, traveling around the country, there are remarkable sites, there are remarkable places in Saudi that the world has just not really been exposed to. I mean, and as the new airline gets going, as visitors start coming to the new hotels, and tourism expands as it is already beyond religious tourism, I think that sector's going to be offering enormous upside. And the numbers are already huge in terms of tourists coming to the country and growth. But I see it continuing.
Certainly, some of the things that we notice from outside looking in, you obviously have one very big company listing. You have valuations that are either extremely stretched one side, extremely cheap the other. The perception is, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the flow is driven by retail investors, and that might or may not, and chime in, may keep foreign investors that you need away until part of the piping is sort of cleaned up and replenished and upgraded. Is that an issue that you're aware of?
We've spent a lot of time, money, and effort on building out what I describe as the internationalization, institutionalization, and electronification of our marketplace. If you think about those firms, an electronically generated business in Europe accounts for 60 or 65% of average daily equity markets. In Riyadh, it's about 20%. We've got a long way to go, but that's changing, literally every month. So we're seeing a tremendous amount of electronification, institutionalization, and internationalization coming to the market. And look, it won't change completely overnight, but there are very, very strong signals that that's now, the sort of makeup of the liquidity on the exchange is changing dramatically.
There are very few places in the world that have not just the vision, and of course, in the case of the kingdom, the Vision 2030, not just the vision, but the resources to actually back up trying to move the economy in different directions, diversifying away from oil, for example, in this case. Does it ever occur to you that money's an issue? Again, oversimplifying an issue there. People know Saudi is a very wealthy country. Is money an issue?
I think the perception of Saudi is different from the reality. I think it would be a mistake for international investors, listeners to this podcast, to be thinking that there's an unlimited supply of money and money's just thrown around. That is absolutely not the case. In fact, I would argue that from my own experience, the way that our major shareholder is PIF, our relationship with PIF, managed very, very carefully through some very strong connections. When we've made acquisitions, the level of discipline, rigor, and governance that we go through around valuation, around post-merger integration, KPIs, is gold standard.